Hello and welcome to the Vision 33 weekly Sage Intacct demo. I am Neil Gabarnik, a Sage Intacct sales consultant, and I have here with us Matthew Frampton, the Intacct Solutions consultant, which will be taking you through the demo. A quick overview for today, about 5 minutes from me, 40 minutes from Matthew, and then some time for your questions. Before we move to the demo, just a little info about Vision 33. Selecting the right software is important, but the right partner is the real difference maker for your business. A few things Vision 33 brings to the table: extensive support and industry experience. We have many longtime customers who rely on our partnership to support their business, and we're a leader in the Sage community. Implementation is just the beginning of your journey. Vision 33 is here for long-term support and customer care. And ultimately, it's our consistency, reliability, focus on excellent customer experiences, and leveraging our knowledge to help you transform accounting frustrations into success and strategic growth. And like Sage, Vision 33 is a global company, but we like to say we operate as a small business. Our main operations are in the US, Canada, and the UK, and we have certified consultants to serve you locally. And here are some of our excellent customers running Sage Intacct. They come from all over the spectrum, including nonprofit, SaaS, and technology, professional services, and more. I'm sure most of you have done your initial research on Sage Intacct, but here are a few highlights. As you can see, Sage Intacct supports several industries and offers industry-specific functionality. Vision 33's biggest customer footprint is nonprofit, where we have approximately 35% of our client base. And building expertise in these verticals really helps us guide our customers down the right path with their implementation, including your sector's best practices for reporting. And here's a quick snapshot of Sage's global reach. Sage has millions of customers worldwide. Customers cut their close time by up to 70%. And here's another snapshot that shows Sage Intacct's global reach. We have Sage has customers in 80 plus countries and 130 plus functional currencies. And if you're interested in the underlying numbers, Sage Intacct is as secure as it gets. You no longer need to worry about backups, downtime, and costly upgrades. It just works all the time. Sage Intacct isn't a solution that was retrofitted for the cloud. It's a cloud-native solution from its first line of code. It's an affordable, easy-to-use solution for finance teams that need only specialized finance tools. It's also a modular solution, which means you only pay for what you need now and can add more functionality when you need it. We call Sage Intacct a best-of-breed solution, and its open API makes it easy to seamlessly integrate with other best-of-breed solutions. For integrations, Sage has what's called the Sage Intacct Marketplace, filled with pre-built integrations to other best-of-breed solutions for CRM, e-commerce, and much more. And if the solution you want to integrate isn't on the Sage Intacct Marketplace, Vision 33 can build the integration for you with Saltbox, which is our exclusive cloud-based integration solution built by our automation and integration experts. And just a final word about Sage Intacct's embedded AI. While it's not built into our demo environment just yet, we want to introduce you to Sage Copilot. Basically, Sage Copilot is like getting a very smart productivity assistant. It gives you answers you can trust and tools for a smoother, faster month-end close. So be sure to follow up with your consultant about Sage Copilot when they follow up with you. And now I'll turn it over to Matthew for the demo. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. As Neil mentioned, I'm Matthew. I'm going to walk us through our brief Intacct demo today to again talk about moving to a native cloud environment. You can wave goodbye to server costs, server security, server maintenance, all of that. It is a fully browser-based solution, which also means you can use it anywhere, anytime from any device. You're no longer limited to machines at your office or machines at home that have a particular program installed onto them. Last but not least, before we look at actual functionality, will be the releases, the updates to Sage Intacct. Sage Intacct updates automatically 4 times per year, and it doesn't require any input from you whatsoever. You log out on a Friday, and when you log in the following Monday, the release will be in the solution for you. It's a very seamless update, happens over the weekend, so it's not going to interrupt your normal business hours, and doesn't really cause any issues in the solution at all. Sure, we may see a small bug here or there, but it's never a major functional downgrade where like I can't enter my payables or I can't pay my vendors or I can't receive payments from my customers or I can't post journal entries. It's always like this checkbox used to default and now it doesn't, and that'll just get fixed very quickly with a hot fix. So really minor things like that. And again, it's such a seamless update that if it weren't for my homepage here, which tells me 2025 release 4 is here, I might not notice it happened unless I were to go into some configuration screens and notice some new functionalities were available. If we click on read the release notes, that will bring you into a full table of contents about the most recent release. These are broad releases that come with actual functionality. They're not just your little bells and whistles or things like that. There are some bells and whistles in here, but there's also going to be some really good functionality. The majority of the update will be upgraded functionality. I like to watch the highlight video. It's generally pretty short, under 20 minutes most times. So I like to have a coffee and watch that video. And then I will make note of the functionalities that interest me the most, and I will come out and drill into the reading material. So you can see there, this most recent release, we've had updates about AP, AR, budgeting and planning, cash management, and down through the whole list. So quite substantial updates. If you're interested when the updates will occur throughout the year, you do get access to the release calendar. Since the last release for calendar 2025 has already occurred, we are now seeing the release dates for 2026. These dates are in stone. Sage doesn't miss them. They're very hard targets. And about a week before the date of the update, so February 6th, May 1st, September 30th, you will be able to come into this screen and see what is going to happen with the most recent release. So you get a little bit of a week's head start there if you want to get out ahead of the game. So that's just my little opener. But now let's start looking at some actual functionality. So Intacct does a lot of stuff really, really well when it comes to core financial accounting. Of course, you have your standard modules, general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, taxes, of course, if you're in Canada. And it also comes with a sales process module or a purchasing process module. If you require added functionality, you can build on to the core subscription. So a lot of the things you see below reports and below taxes here, such as contracts, fixed asset management, employee expenses, inventory control, projects. All of these are additional modules that you don't have to pay for unless you have the requirement for those modules and then you build them on. So you don't have to pay for a big solution that 40% of it you aren't using. You build on and pay for and use what you need. So a modular solution, as Neil mentioned. Now, while it does all of these functionalities really, really well, where it tends to separate itself from competition, in my opinion, comes from the reporting capabilities out of Intacct, the financial reporting capabilities, as well as the ability to easily build customized reports, custom reports off of any object in the system that really allow you to isolate and extract data out of the system that you need in order to drive decision making. The backbone of what makes that so easy and so possible comes from what Sage calls their dimensions. So a couple of generic things are considered dimensions in Intacct. General ledger accounts, vendors, customers, they are considered dimensions. Everybody leverages those, of course, right, in an accounting solution. But the added dimensions that you can get, such as the class dimension, the department dimension, the entity and location dimension, the item dimension, really allow you to tag your financial data at the line level of transactions that'll let you isolate that data, filter reports, slice and dice reports, and really get some strong insights into your financial information. So if we take a look at the department dimension as my example, we've got 5 in my solution here. This list can be slim, like 5, like you see here. I have clients that have 250 or 300 departments in this listing, and they have parent-child relationships that you can see on screen that roll up into one another, just really gives you multiple layers of reporting. Now, these dimensions do a few things for you. First of all, they're going to help you slim down your chart of accounts if you're coming from a segmented chart of accounts that has sub-accounts at the end. Because if I were working in a system with segmented chart of account GL numbers, For every GL account that I want to track the financial activity across my 5 departments, I'm going to end up with 5 GL accounts, right? The GL account 5000-100, 5000-200, 5000-300, 5000-400, 5000-500, and then I have to move on to the next GL account, the next GL account. That causes your chart of accounts to blow up really, really quickly. It makes the management of financial reporting more difficult. It makes running general ledger detail reports for all of the GL accounts in a particular department a tedious task, as you probably have to manually select 20 different accounts. Intacct's dimensional structure is going to take all of that away. And let me show you a few ways how. So as I'm coding any transaction in the system, let's say I wanted to put in an accounts payable transaction. Intacct calls accounts payable invoices bills. If you hear me say bills, I'm talking AP. When I worked as an accountant, I was used to them being AP invoices, but here we are with bills. So if I just come in and I choose a vendor, we'll take American Express, I'll put in a bill number, I'll come down to my coding. So when I code here and we have a default GL account put in here for American Express, now I can override this at any point if I want to. I don't have to use that GL account. It's just meant to help with keying, of course. When I code out my transaction, maybe I've had a couple of employees travel for a conference. So we'll say 2 employees from my sales department went, their tickets were $650 each. So that's a $1,300 total. This should be allocated out to my sales department. And then we'll say we had 3 people from marketing go. They were 650 each too, just because the math doesn't matter here. We'll pretend it's a perfect world. And this should go to my marketing department. And that is how we separate our financial data out across our different dimensions. One example of how we can do it. Now, by doing this, what it allows me to do is if I were to post this and go run a general ledger detail report, I could run it on everything and I could see the full 3150 and how it was allocated out. I can filter my GL detail report and say, show me only my sales things or my marketing things. I could even say, show me just things from American Express. And when I run a P&L, I can either see everything grouped together to see the full 3150. I can filter my report to only see my results for a particular department or departments, or I can run it for all departments with a split out showing. And I'll show you all of this. Before I do, I just want you to keep in mind that it's any dimension that we can do this with, okay? So obviously GL account that has to be there, but customer, vendor, department, class, location, and don't get too caught up on the name of the dimension like department or class. We can rename these to meet your needs. Just think of them as buckets for reporting. They're just buckets that you can tag, and then you can report on those buckets very, very easily. So let's take a look at how we can do a couple of those things. If I were to go run a general ledger detail report and I wanted to run it for everything but still get some insight, what I would do in here is leave the majority of my filters blank, but I'm going to make some selections in a certain part of this. And I'm going to run this for 2019 because that's where my data is held. And I'm just going to run it for my P&L accounts. I'm not going to worry too much about balance sheet. When I scroll down here, you can see I'm going to leave my department dimension blank. I'm going to leave all my dimensions blank. But what I'm going to tell the system is when I run my GL detail report, I want to see some additional information. I want to see my vendor name. I want to see my department name. And when we're in the revenue section, I would like to see my customer name. So I can go ahead and now I can view this general ledger detail report and it will show me all of my data wherever it was tagged because I left my dimensional filters blank. So whenever this completes running, so we see some revenue here and we can see the customer that each revenue line is allocated to. We can also see the department that each line of revenue is allocated to. And we'll see that down all of our revenue GL accounts. And eventually when we get into the expenses, and more so the operating expenses and not really cost of goods sold, that's where I'm to now. That's why we're seeing all services and I'm going fast on purpose. I get down to some operational expenses here. I'll know when I'm there because here I am. So we see salaries and wages. So we can see this 6760 is for our sales department. This 4940 is for services. This 6499 is for admin and so on. Now, while you'll very rarely have to do this because we can build these custom type reports in Intacct, having this data on your GL detail report makes it very convenient if you want to export to Excel and run some data. Right? It makes it easier to run pivot tables, some ifs, and so on. So it's just nice that you can get that data there. Now, if I wanted to isolate some data, maybe I want to run my GL detail report for the same time period, but only see things that are related to admin. What have our admin costs been like the past 3 months? I can customize the same GL detail report, and in my department area, I will simply choose my admin department, and I will go ahead and click on view. And when this one runs, it will be isolated. And now I'm only seeing things that are tagged to my admin department. You'll notice my revenue accounts are not even showing because there's no revenue related to the admin department. So that is kind of how the filtering can work. It's going to work the exact same way on some financial reports, but we are going to go take a look at those now. So if I come into my financial reports, and I will do this from what is called the top level, I will run down to my profit and loss report, my summary here. I'm going to run this report just so you get a glimpse of it as it is. And then I'm going to show you some options that we have with it. So here we go. It's a fairly standard P&L. The groupings that we see here on the left, these are the out-of-the-box groupings for the statement. We can make your headers and subheaders and groupings whatever you need them to be. So just don't put too much weight in it over here, although it is a pretty nice P&L. I then have my standard month ending column. I did run my report for the month of December 31st of 2019. I'm showing the prior month, and that is based off of just my selection on my as of date. Like if I hit my filters here and I say I want to see this report as of November 30th of 2019, my columns will switch up and my current month will be November, my prior month will be October, right? We then have a period variance here. So period over period, right? 30,426 minus 26,901 is certainly the 352,450. So I've just chosen to put that stuff there. And then I have a full year to date P&L over here. Maybe after looking at this, you say, well, that's fantastic. Now I'd like to see a departmental P&L for each of my separate departments all together. You'll have a separate report ready to go this year to date by department. I'll go ahead and run this report. I'm going to run it again up to whatever date I want. If I put in December, it's going to run year to date to December. If I put June 30th of 2019, it's going to go year to date to June. So when I run this report, you'll see now we get an admin column, we have an IT column, we have our marketing department, our sales department, our services department. Don't pay too much attention to this no department. This just means some transactions got entered in the system and they left the department blank. This happened in this demo environment before we could stop this from happening, like full stop. There's no way around it. There was at one point in time, but it's gone now. So you wouldn't have to worry about this. I'll show you that functionality just so you're aware. And then we have a departmental P&L. It's all drillable, of course. Every report in Intacct is. And the drillable here is actually going to work with my filters. So if I drill in here to this admin column, it is going to drill into my GL detail report and be isolated to the admin department. So really nice drill downs. And then from the GL detail, of course, you can click on a dollar value and get to a source transaction. In this case, they actually are all just journal entries signified by the GJ in my column there. But at least you still see that we can drill back all the way. And of course, like I isolated my GL detail report, I can also isolate my financial report. So if I'm running this report, and we'll keep picking on the admin department, I've made it a theme. You just say, I want to run this just for my admin department, and then it will filter. And now we have a little bit of intercompany revenue, but for the most part, this has really become like an operational expense type statement at this point. Admin's not going to generate much revenue. They're going to incur expenses, and there you go. It is also possible if you wanted to run this report for a group of your departments, maybe 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5. You see here, I've created a group called 100-300. If I run it on 100-300, then it is going to just run for those two particular departments, which happen to be sales and admin, and I get a total to the right. So you get a whole lot of flexibility in the way you can report in here. And that, again, it flows through all of the dimensions in the system. Now back to my previous point about how we stop that no department thing from happening. It's not really new functionality now, a new functionality in relation to the demo environment itself, but on any GL account, and I'll pick on an expense account. On your GL account, you can say this account requires the department dimension. If I put that checkbox on this GL account and I go try to do any type of entry that is going to hit 51706 and I do not tag a department on that line level, the system will just give me an error that says GL account 51706 requires a department. We can't continue until you choose a department. Building off of the financial reporting is the dashboard functionality out of Sage Intacct. So Intacct allows you to create as many dashboards as you need. While this one is loading up, I will just show you in my system. I've got, I don't know, at least 20, I suppose, dashboards here. Now, each dashboard on a dashboard by dashboard basis, I can put settings on each individual dashboard to determine who can and who cannot see each individual dashboard. So an AR clerk is probably not going to get access to the AP manager dashboard. An AP clerk is probably not going to get access to the AR manager dashboard. The CFO dashboard is probably just going to be the CFO and your director of finance and maybe your senior accountants, maybe, right? But you can, like I said, you can pick and choose who can see each individual dashboard. So you get a lot of data control there, data security. So this dashboard is showing they call it the company performance graph. This is really a P&L. I guess company performance, they've made a glorified name for a P&L, but you see my key down below. So my light green is my revenue, my blue is my expenses, my orange is my net income. I can click on show data and very quickly see the financial figures for each of the month over month there. And if I click on a piece of this graph, it will drill me into the full P&L for that particular month. So I can drill straight back from my dashboard all the way back to source transactions if that is what I desire to do. So really simple. What do we have here? This RevRec. It's a RevRec entry, so that's not going to give me any drill back to an actual transaction. That's all RevRec. Let me see if I can get us back to an actual AR invoice from my dashboard. This one will. So if I click on this dollar value, this will bring me straight to a source transaction from my dashboard. So here I am back to the invoice for the amount. So full drill down from your graphs. Down below the graph here, we've got some performance indicators. So you can see that we're looking at our services revenue compared against our budget. We're looking at our total revenue versus the prior month. We're looking at our labor costs versus the prior month, and so on. We've then got some more graphs. These ones have shrunken a little bit on me. This is one of the minor bugs from the updates that I would probably have referenced in my opener. These graphs used to look a lot cleaner than they do at the moment. So they were a little bit bigger. They've just shrunk. I need to kind of redo them, but at least you get a glimpse of the fact that we can put graphs here and we've got more performance indicators and more graphs and so on. So just great stuff there with the dashboards. Moving away from financial reporting and dashboard functionality, the next thing I'll really talk about quickly will be the multi-entity management. So if you're working for a company that has multiple entities under its umbrella, I know with a lot of systems, if you're doing work in one of those companies and you need to do work in another of those companies, you log out of one and you have to log into the other. In Intacct, that goes away completely. I'm at my top level now, which means I'm at like the management company, if you will, like just the master file. If I click my top level here, I can see the 7 different operating entities that are under this umbrella. They're named as countries, but that is just meant for ease of understanding another piece of the demo environment. But I've got 7 different operating companies. So right now I'm working in USA Company 1. If I wanted to do work in USA Company 2, I don't have to log out and log in. I click my drop down and choose USA Company 2. And here I am working in USA Company 2 whenever it loads itself through for me. So great stuff there. A question that always comes from that is, well, what if I have certain employees that should only, when they log in, they should only be able to work in the USA companies? Super easy to manage, super easy to configure. Each user, you can determine which entities are allowed to see and which entities they're not allowed to see. And when they log in, if they are limited, like if someone was limited to the first 3 on my list here, when they hit this drop down list, they would only see those. They would more or less not even really know that these other ones exist. So that's great to do. On top of that, not only are those 7 companies operating under the same umbrella here, The environment I'm in is actually a multi-currency and globally consolidated system. So each company is operating in its own base currency, Australia functional currency, Australia in Australian dollars, Canada in Canadian dollars, South Africa in the South African rand, the US companies in USD and the UK in pound sterling. Each entity can have sub-locations. So see here in Canada, I've made the province of Newfoundland and I've even split further Newfoundland into Corner Brook and into St. John's. I could do the same with Ontario and Quebec. I could take St. John's and make East St. John's and West St. John's and Central St. John's. I'm from St. John's, so probably not really central. I guess there's Central City, but East and West is generally how we classify it. But you get the idea. And there's a roll up here. So if I code something into St. John's and something into Corner Brook, I can report on those individually. But if I say I want to report on Newfoundland as a whole, anything I put into Corner Brook and St. John's automatically rolls into the total for Newfoundland. I can still view it separately on the same report and get a total for Newfoundland if I want, or I can just have one total for Newfoundland. But again, you get all of that flexibility there. All of these companies can process multi-currency transactions very, very easily. And at any point in time, I could create a set of consolidation books to consolidate the financials for any number of entities here that I select into any currency in the world that I want to consolidate those financials into. I could take my Canadian company only and consolidate the financials into Australian dollars. I could take the Australian company, the Canadian company, and the South African company and consolidate the financials for those three companies into the Mexican peso if I wanted to. If just because you don't see the currency here on this screen doesn't mean I can't use it as a consolidation currency. It's very easy to do. So let's have a look at a couple of those. If I'm entering an AP transaction or an AR transaction, it doesn't matter, or a general ledger journal entry, again, it doesn't matter what type of transaction. If I choose, say, a vendor, and I'll choose Consulting Grid, which I believe is in Quebec. Yeah, so they've got them in Quebec here. The default currency associated with this vendor is Canadian dollars. Now, I can change this if something happened and for some reason Consulting Grid invoiced us in pound sterling or euros, but I'm not going to. You see an exchange rate date is today's date, and there is an exchange rate here. I did not upload exchange rates into the system. I do not have to. They're linked in here directly. They're sourced from Oanda, OANDA, which is a very trusted source for exchange rates. And it is a fully historical table. Okay, so if I change my exchange rate date here back to like 2005, the system knows what the exchange rate was between Canadian dollars and US dollars back in 2005. The most likely situation here is if I'm entering this today is December 9th, chances are this bill is dated for like December 3rd. It has to get to us, right? So my exchange rate date should probably be December 3rd, and then that's what the exchange rate is today. And if I say they invoiced us 6,500 Canadian dollars, that based on the exchange rate above converts to $4,645.55. And there it is, it's marked. When I pay this transaction, the system will look at what the exchange rate was when the transaction was entered, what the exchange rate date is now today that we are entering it, and it will calculate our foreign exchange gain or loss for us and post it as part of the payment. And you can always override these exchange rates. So we'll make a ridiculous example so it really pops out. But if I wanted to change this and say my exchange rate is 8, you'll notice that my base amount has changed to 52,000. So it does respect your override if you put it there. So great stuff there. The consolidations is really easy. You just set up a set of consolidation books, which is done through here. Out of the interest of time, I'm not going to spend too much time here. After that, you run your consolidations. You can have as many consolidation books as you need. There's no limit, no additional charge. You just create as many as you want. And after consolidations have run, you can always view financial statements in those currencies. So this really just prevents the need for exporting out to Excel or running mapping of GL accounts together or putting exchange rates in, all of that good stuff. It does do elimination entries for you. So you pick the accounts that should eliminate upon consolidation, and it does that. And if there's any adjustment required, it will make the adjustment into a GL account that you select. So here we have a consolidated balance sheet for our global books in US dollars. If I scroll down, we will have a consolidated P&L for our global books in US dollars, shows each company listed out from left to right. Down below, we've got a consolidated P&L for our non-US books in GBP. This just includes the UK company, our Australia company, and our South Africa company. And we have a consolidated P&L for our North American books, which is all the US companies in Canada, of course. And we scroll down, and then we've got a consolidated balance sheet for both of those respective consolidations as well. So a really strong multi-currency, multi-entity. After global consolidations, we are going to look at the purchasing module. So the purchasing module is nothing more than a more powerful accounts payable module, okay? If you don't need all the functionality you see in the purchasing module today, don't think that you have to use this. You can just use straight AP. It's a very strong AP module, very flexible. It does have approvals on bills and vendors and payments. We show the purchasing module because we find most clients today are looking for a stronger procurement process that is maintained in-house. And it also comes with some more flexibility surrounding the types of approvals that you can do in your workflow. So the purchasing module will let you build your workflow or workflows from start to finish. You see here I've got three different types of purchase requisitions. I've got 5 different types of purchase orders. I've got a receipt of shipment, and then I've got my vendor invoice. The system will do a 3-way match, a 4-way match, whatever, wherever you start, every document will be linked together. And you can control the flow here and make sure that your workflow is or has to be followed. You can put controls in place that won't let people just issue a PO before they've put in a purchase requisition. We can put those controls in place. And any document that you see here, purchase requisition, quote, travel authorization, PO inventory, blanket PO, they can all be on different types of approval policies. That is kind of why I have these 3 options here. Like maybe our purchase requisition goes to our project manager and then our department manager and then our CFO. But maybe the travel authorization form goes to the employees manager or something along those lines. And then POs can have different approval policies. And it all comes with a really strong audit trail. The way the approvals can be routed or automatically routed. Let's take a look at that. If I were to go to my purchasing module and say that I want to put in a purchase requisition, I actually clicked on my list of requisitions first, but I'll click add here. As I'm entering this transaction into the system, I'm going to make some selections on my dimension values down below here. So the most commonly used type of automatic approval routing that we come across does leverage the dimensions that you see here. So the department dimension, the location dimension, the project dimension, and the employee dimension, they all have managers or can have managers associated with each selection. So sales can have a manager, services can have a manager, admin can have a manager. Colorado can have a manager, Florida can have a manager, New York can have a manager. Every project you see here can have a manager. And of course, those managers can be on multiple different values here. It's not like a one-to-one. So if I were to set up any of those types of managerial approvals, if I were to enter this transaction and we had, say, the workflow was first it goes to the location manager, then it goes to the department manager, and then it goes to the project manager. When I submit this for approval, the system will look and try to find who is the manager of location 100. Emma. So it's going to go to Emma first for approval. Next, we need to go to the department manager. Who is the department manager? The system will look it up and say this is going to Ryan, and then it will do the same thing for the project. So that's the most popular approvals that we see. The other ways you can do it are a little more simple. It can be value based. So you set your threshold, your dollar thresholds. Level one can be $0 to $500 or level one can be $0 to $500,000. And then level two picks up where level one left off, and level three picks up where level two leaves off, and so on. Those value approvals, they can be direct or progressive. So if you put in a transaction that is at your level three threshold, in the direct method, it skips level one, skips level two, goes right to a level three approver. If you have the progressive turned on, then it goes first to a level one person, then to a level two person, and finally to the level three person. And the other way we can route them is you really just direct them directly to either a particular user or a group of users. You can create a group of users, and it goes to all of those people in that group, and it's kind of like whichever one of them gets to it first. It's not an and group, it's an or group. Someone from that group has to approve it, but they don't all have to approve it. And those approvals can be in any order you like, right? It can go project manager, value approval, department manager, then to Matthew for approval. Or it could be reverse and go to Matthew first and then value approval and then project and then department. You really get to choose how many steps there are and what order those steps should occur in. And you will get a really strong audit trail. So if we come out and look at my list of purchase requisitions currently in my system, we will see we have one in a state of submitted. So this is from November 25th. We're at December 9th. Maybe it's time we follow up on this particular purchase requisition. So we can click on submitted. That will bring us in and allow us to click on an approval history. And we will see that the way this was routed, it's supposed to go to the department manager. I didn't realize I had it set up as I talked about it pretty well the exact same way. The department manager is Ryan, so this goes to Ryan. The next is a location manager approval. The manager of the location I selected was Emma. After that, it's going to a project manager for approval, and the manager of the project tagged at the line level is Tom. And then after Tom approves it, it's coming to me for approval. It's just a user level directly to me. So this is the workflow that it's going to follow. And now you'd be able to follow up with Ryan and then Emma and then Tom and get this pushed through the workflow. Once a transaction is approved, it becomes available to convert. And what I mean by convert is move it along your workflow. So I'm going to convert this into one of the transactions that I've identified a purchase requisition is allowed to be converted into, say a PO. So that's what the state of pending means. And when you click convert, it does take everything off of your original purchase requisition and automatically map it out for you. Again, really meant to help with keying time and keying errors, but we can handle things like partial conversions and that good stuff. So just wanted to show you the convert functionality. And then if we have something that is converted, that means it has moved along our workflow. So it has gone out of the purchase requisition stage. It's at least gone to some type of PO. If we want to know how far along the process that is, we can click on the word converted. That will give us a couple of things in here. I don't like, well, this one, I'll leave this one for now just because it's converted and we can see the trail. We see our three-way match, right? The purchase requisition was entered. The purchase requisition was converted into a particular purchase order. That purchase order has been converted into an invoice. So this has gone through our entire workflow. If I want to drill back to any of those transactions, I could get to the PO from here. I can also get to the invoice from here. And it's not just the start of the workflow that gives you this drill down. Right now, when this pops open, I'm going to be on my vendor invoice. From my invoice, I can still get back to the PO or purchase requisition. So they are completely linked together in a number of ways. So there's your three-way or four-way or two-way, whatever way match you want to do. The other piece that I wanted to show with this converted is you can tell if something has gone through an approval process. The transaction I clicked on a moment ago for the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, it had no approval history link. I'm just going to show you here. There was no approval history link here. So that means at the time this got entered, we had turned off the approval policy. It's a demo environment, so we don't have to worry about why that happened. But if I can click on my worldwide commercial one here, we can see this has gone through an approval policy. If we want to check what type of approval policy it went through, we can click here and we can actually see that this was supposed to go to Mark, then it was supposed to go to Tom, and then it was supposed to go to Vincent. But if we look over at who was approved by, it was actually approved by me. This one kind of got stuck in limbo and we had to get it through the workflow. So I was marked as the admin approver and I came in and approved this transaction. I didn't leave a good enough note here. This means if you see just like approved by Matthew Frampton on this date, that means I didn't put a note. I was being lazy or I was going fast and I didn't put a note here. But normally you would want to put a note here that is like Mark, Tom, and Vincent were all out of office. This needed to get through our workflow. We had to make payment today. So we pushed it through or you would just want to leave a stronger audit trail here. I have done that on some transaction that is sitting right here in front of us. I'm not going to go through too many of them to try to find it because I think you get the point. But did I just pick the exact same one? I think I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, you just, make it a good habit to leave better notes if you're going to be overriding some approvals. Now, that was setting me up as the admin approver. You can also set delegation on. So if Ryan's going on vacation or Emma's going on vacation, you can set up a delegate to step in their presence. So you don't need the admin approver. That's about it for what I'm going to show for the purchasing module. I just want to preface it with that's far from all of the functionality available in this module. I have to go pretty quick here, so that's just a little highlight of this module in particular. There are other functionalities such as price lists, variance allowances. Like if we put in a PO and the invoice comes in and it's more than 5% higher than the original PO, we're not going to enter that. We're going to trigger it to go back through the workflow. We're going to notify somebody in the organization to take a look at it. We can split transactions, partial conversions. We can record cost of goods sold. That's really on the other side that I'm about to talk about. I get them mixed up because they intertwine so much. But yeah, there is more functionality here than I showed today. Just a quick highlight. The next module I'll talk about quickly will be the order entry module. The order entry module is pretty much a twin of the purchasing module, just on the revenue side of your business, the sales side of your business. Just like AP and AR are kind of twins of one another, purchasing and order entry are twins of one another. Comes with all the same functionality outside of approvals. There are no approvals in the sales process module within Sage Intacct. So you get your workflows, you get your full three-way match, all that good stuff. What people probably like most about the AR and sales order module in Intacct is the ability to send your invoices or your statements or late payment notices directly from the system. So using this module under AR, I can send out my printer email my documents, so my sales orders, my sales invoices, whatever I want to send out through the AR module, I can send out a more standard version of my invoices. I can send out my customer statements. I can also send out what Intacct calls dunning notices. I'd never heard that term before, but these are just late payment notices that you can send out in a more streamlined way. If you want to send out your sales documents, for instance, under order entry, we can click printer email documents. We can set some filters. I am going to go from 01/01/2019 to 12/31/2019. I will call it previously sent. And I will say that I'm just going to send out my sales invoices and we will go ahead and click on view here. That will bring up any documents that match my filtered parameters. Here it is. And I could email all of these out. Now, there are no email addresses showing here, but that is just because I'm in a demo environment and we don't have email addresses on the clients in here. If there were email addresses here, they would autofill, and there is a full message log that will tell you whether or not your email left your system, whether it was delivered to the client. So it has a full audit trail there with the emails as well. So people do like the AR and sales order module in the system. So we said we'd leave 5 minutes at the end for questions here. Before I open up the floor for questions, I just want to say that what I'm showing you today really is just like a high level gloss over of Sage Intacct. I don't, any customized demo that I do, I won't let the salespeople schedule a demo for less than 90 minutes. And even then, I'm like, it should probably be 2 hours. There are just too many rabbit holes for me to go down. It intrigues people too much. There's too many questions. There's so much added functionality in here. So what you're seeing today is really just a gloss over of the system. The modules that I did talk about, such as the purchasing module, the consolidations module, the financial reporting, I could demo those modules for an hour alone, let alone try to squeeze all of them into one single hour. There's that much added functionality we could talk about. That's the ones that I did talk about. The modules that I didn't talk about that have really powerful functionality. There is a contracts module in here. This is for revenue contracts, not managing your vendor contracts. It's really targeted towards SaaS type companies. Handles all your contract billing, handles all your contract revenue recognition, can handle contract expenses. We can do usage billing. We can do tiered pricing, step pricing, absolute pricing. We can handle evergreen contracts or termed contracts, and we can streamline renewals. Just a massive amount of things we can do with that module. There is a fixed asset management module where when you put in your AP transaction for purchasing your fixed asset, it adds the fixed asset to your fixed asset register. It asks you how you want to depreciate it. You put it in service, it generates your depreciation schedules, and it automatically posts your depreciation if you wanted to. You can turn it on manual posting, but straight line depreciation is one of those things that I would be okay with automatically hitting my books. Set up ahead of time. No one's going to change it. No need to worry. There's an employee expense module. There's an employee time module, and they link in kind of directly with the project costing and billing module, where we can handle projects with tasks, can do milestone billing, percentage of completion billing, or revenue recognition, reimbursable expenses, markups, billable and non-billable time, easily calculate a utilization rate of a full project costing and billing module. There's inventory control. As long as you are not doing any type of manufacturing, this is a very strong inventory module. It does warehousing, rows, aisles, bins, groups, zones, inventory valuation, expiration dates, inventory cycles, inventory replenishment, lead times. I mean, just a good inventory module if you're not doing any type of manufacturing. If you don't have contracts, like full contracts, but you have revenue recognition requirements, there is just a revenue recognition module where you set up your RevRec templates and categories and you put things on a revenue recognition schedule and it automatically recognizes over the term that you've entered. I'm most like budgeting and planning or just core budgeting and having budgets versus actuals on financial reports. I mean, I could probably keep going on, but what I will do is I will stop there. I think you get the point. There's more to see. So I guess we'll call it there. We'll thank everybody for coming out and your time. I do appreciate it. If you want to see more of Sage Intacct, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to do a more customized demo for you. Hope you all have a wonderful week and hopefully chat soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.